All right, here we go. Begin stream. Hajime. All right, the link is in the chat. Same rules for same fools. See you guys there. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. First thing to do is make sure you can hear me. Don't hate the player. There you go. Again, mute yourself on Zoom, please, so that nobody's hearing your shit. If you can't mute yourself on Zoom, then I can mute you. Alan fucking swinging in for the win, and he commented twice just to be sure. I don't know what I mean. It's funny that it means so much to you to be first. I think that's pretty funny. But hey, man, competitive. Oh, because Hannah won the last one. That's why you went hard this time. You're like, no. I'm not letting anybody beat me this time. I respect it. All right, let's see. Intro to Rec. I can't remember if these are 44. Yeah, they're 44-1. Pretty girls like to prance, and I'm all caught up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, our fantastic counting. I'm just gonna do this. Gonna reduce the volume. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, hey Ty. I mean, again, actually, just like I said, can't hate the player. If Alan's gonna be first, he's gonna be first. Caught me in the back. That's hilarious. Okay, so what we're gonna go over now is this process called automation, right? And I'm gonna go over this multiple times because it's a little bit harder to grasp, but very, very important. Elastic Audio was a little complicated too, but I would say functionally in a real world scenario, it's not as important. Like, it's not used on such a regular basis as automation is. Automation is present in, I would say, every single mix ever. Like, any good mix will have automation in it. I mean, fine. 99.9% of mixes will have these, right? Very, very important. So what is automation? Well, it's the process of changing different parameters over the course of a timeline. So what does that mean? So you guys know you have a timeline here, right? It goes from left to right, 1 bar, 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It goes across time. But you also have all these parameters, right? You have your fader to change level, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have your pan to change the panning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So you can change all these parameters, but what you might have noticed is that once you change the parameter position, it's static. It stays right there, right? If I change the pan to this and the volume to that, and I hit play, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 5, it stays 6. Right there. It stays to wherever the last setting of the parameter has been set to. It stays at the setting most recent to, how do you say this? It stays at the very last setting that you've applied, right? But the question is, what if I wanted to, say, have the number 4 louder than the other numbers, right? What if I wanted to do something 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? What if I wanted to do something like that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What if I wanted the volumes to be different, right? Okay, yeah, you could say, hey, gee, why don't you just go in, cut this, and increase the clip gain? 3, 4, 5. Couple of things. Clip gain is pre-fader, which is also pre-effects. So that'll affect all the inserts that you have as well, right? You guys already know this. Like, if I put an EQ on, let's put the standard Pro Tools EQ 7-band. You have an in meter and out meter. Remember that stuff? 3, 4, 5. Your clip gain is pre-fader. So watch the in meter. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it affects all the inserts that you have present in your chain as well. So it's not enough to just be able to change clip gain. You want to be able to change level and other parameters across time post fader as well, right? So for that reason, they have this function called automation. So just as a quick example, I'm going to just rearrange my windows a little bit. I'm going to do this, going to move this to the side. So now you can see both windows, right? So you have the edit window on the left and the mix window on the right. Okay? Now here's the thing, right? Right. And whether it's smooth or not is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Suppose you want it to be very abrupt. That's fine. But the thing is that clip gain is pre-fader. So I could still do a smooth transition with clip gain. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I could increase it, right? And then I just create a crossfade and it becomes more smooth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So you can smoothen shit out as well, but the thing is that it's pre-fader. That's the biggest distinction. And also, remember that whole concept of gain staging. This gain is different from this gain, right? There's 2 different levels of gain staging. Very, very important, right? Especially when you have inserts on. And sometimes feeding an insert hotter is better than feeding it less hot, which means louder, right? So a very common thing is when you're in the studio, you'll have a preamp to get gain out of a microphone, but sometimes if you're in a really good room with great gear, you'll push it a little bit so it's like on the edge of distortion, but it gives a super nice saturation feel to it that you want. That's gain staging. You're determining the variation in gain between different stages, right, or between different components. Very, very, very useful. All right, so the question is, can I move this fader while the song is playing? 1, 2, 3. Right, and the answer is yes. Now you may or may not have noticed this, but on every track, right, whether you look in the edit window or whether you look in the mix window, there's this little thing called auto read. Right, you can see it there, and you can see it here too. Auto read stands for automation read. Okay, and if you click on it, you can see that you have a bunch of different options. Right now, the main ones, the primary ones that I'm going to go over, are read, touch, latch, and write. Touch latch is exclusive to Pro Tools Ultimate, so you guys won't even have that. But read, touch, latch, and write are the ones that I'm going to go over. So what's happening now is it's in automation read mode. That's the default of every Pro Tools track. And you might be wondering, well, what does automation read mean? To understand that, you need to understand that every track has automation lanes affiliated with it. If you've ever wondered what these black lines are for these tracks, these are called automation lanes. All right. So check it out. If I go to a track, click on waveform and choose volume, this black line that I'm seeing is this fader, right? Right here. So if I turn it down, this black line is going to go down. Check it out. All right. Same thing, like right up here. This is the volume automation lane for the master fader. So if I turn this down, it goes down, 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 right? Tracks are set to automation read by default, so they always read whatever's on the automation lane. Right now, the automation lane is straight, so whatever I set it to, it will be straight for the entirety of the track. But what I want to do is I want to go in and change up the automation lane. You can do this many, many different ways, right? Let's go over the very basic way of doing it. Once you have an automation lane pulled up, you can hold Command while you're on the Smart Tool. And when you hover over the automation lane, your hand will turn into a finger point plus sign, right? When you click, you create automation points. Right? You can see these little white dots, right? Now let go of Command, and now you can go back to your finger point, but there's no plus, and you can change the position of your automation lane, or change the shape of your automation lane. So what's going to happen now? Watch what happens as, let's just move this a little bit more to the right, because we don't really need that. Boom. All right. So watch what happens to this fader as I play the song. Remember, it's automation read now as well, right? So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Can you curve them in Pro Tools? No. In Ableton, yes. Or if you can curve them, I'm not exactly sure how. If somebody finds online how to curve, then definitely let me know. That's something else. But no, in Ableton you can. But it doesn't matter because essentially automation is still you're changing this parameter or any parameter while a song is playing, right? And yeah, I know it sucks, and I kind of like the curving in Ableton, but think about how many hits have been mixed on Pro Tools without the curve. So it's like, are you really missing something? You know what I mean? So, all right, that's automation. So I'm going to highlight it and get rid of it. Do one more time. So you have your automation lane, which is set to whatever your parameter is set to most recently. You click on this thing called waveform, or the other way to do, which is the recommended way to do it. And yes, this is post fader. Well, yeah, it's actually the fader moving. So yeah, the other way, and I think the correct way to do automation, or the best way to do automation, is on every track in the edit window at the bottom right, there's a little pull down menu, right? You can see this little triangle. Most of you will have like a line with 2 dots for automation, but it should say, when you hover over it, show hide automation lane. And when you click on it, you have the option of volume and a pull down for volume trim, mute, and pan, right? These are the mixer parameters. Why is it called a mixer parameter? Because look at your mix window. What are the parameters you can fuck with in your mix window? It's level, mute, pan, right? Basically, you don't need to really automate solo. Doesn't make sense. You automate mutes, but not solos. So you pull up the automation lane. You hold Command and hover over the line to create the plus sign over your hand. Click to create automation points. Let go of Command. Hover over the dot. Move them up and down to your liking. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now a song can play while these parameters move, or rather, these parameters can move while a song is playing. Very, very useful, because now you don't have to sit there and do it manually like you did back in like the early days, right? Days before me, like way before me. But think about having to mix and perform the song live. And if you fucked up, you have to start from the beginning again, right? So that's automation. So that's volume, right? Let's do another one. Instead of volume, let's click and choose pan, because that's the most common one. So let me show you another way of doing it, right? You can do the creating an automation dots by holding Command. Or if you come up here to where your edit tools are, to the right, there's a little pencil tool, right? If you right click, you can choose different kinds of pencil tool functions. So for example, if you do freehand, right, that obviously means freehand. click on it to highlight it. Now, when you hover over an automation lane, it gives you a pencil. So check it out. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And that's pan. It's not volume. If I did it for volume, it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can also choose other shapes, like say triangle. And let's do this with pan, right? Check it out. What I'm doing now is, based on the grid size, right? You can choose a triangle or square shape, and it will create those shapes within the grid. So check it out. Go to the pencil, click, drag up to the right, and you see how every grid point is a triangle point, like a top or a bottom of a triangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you want to change the size, you have to change the grid. So let's go to quarter notes. Click, grab, and this is for pan, right? So I'm panning, I'm automating the panning. So look at this knob over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Pretty cool. We can do square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, because I didn't pull it down enough. There. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Now, what's a good use of the square? You should already know, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. If you go to mute, it's one of the first things we actually tried, and do 16th notes, you can do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if you do 32nd notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? You get the idea. So what you're doing is, with a mute automation, right, you can only have on and off, right? Because mute can either be on or off. The other automations like volume and pan can have variability. Now, if you want to see more than one automation lane, you can go to the lane, right? So say we're on volume, right? And we go back to our freehand, blah, 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 blah. If you click on the little plus sign, you can choose to see another automation lane, plus sign, and another one. So now you can see all the automation that you've done. Let's say this, boom, in one viewing. So now check out how this fader, this mute button, and this pan knob all vary while the song plays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Let's do the mute one on the higher res. Right, let's do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So you're automating 3 parameters at a time. Now, obviously, there's all kinds of different shapes. You can see parabolic and S curves, right? So that's how you can get these kinds of curvy features. Let's see if we can go in. Why is this not working? What's going on? Should be able to. I gotta figure that out. I'm not sure why my key's not working. No. All right. Anyway, you see that you have different kinds of shapes, and random is obviously very, very, very random. All right. So this is another way how you can do automation, which is using the pencil tool. So we went over holding command and just manually drawing it in, right? We went over the pencil tool. But then there's one more way to do it, which is what I alluded to in the very first discussion, which is this auto read right here or right here. You can actually use it to record automation, right? Possessed, yeah. So, for example, if I change this to touch, what happens is, as long as I'm touching this fader, automation will be written on the mixer parameter. So check this out. I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to move this, but watch, it'll only start recording. There'll be a red line. It'll only start recording once I click on the fader. Now, see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Now here's the thing. As soon as I let go, it stops recording. So check it out one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let 6, go. 7, 8. Right? So it stops whenever I'm not touching it. It starts recording whenever I am touching it. The beautiful thing about that is that, well, once you have something written, like say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Suppose you have something written and you're like, oh my God, this is a perfect automation move, but this is too loud. Now, you could just highlight it, hover over with the bracket, click, and then turn it down. But what if you want to reperform it? Easy. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit play, but you're going to keep it in touch mode. So watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? You're going to write it again. It's going to overwrite only while you're touching the parameter. Now, some of you might have noticed that I didn't touch this fader this time, and that's because I'm touching this guy, this fader. This is what I bought this thing for. So check it out. I'm going to do one more time. I'm going to hit play, and as soon as I touch the fader, it will start recording. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pretty cool, right? And now if I want to overwrite something, I just follow it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Pretty awesome. So that is touch mode, right? Very, very useful. Very, very efficient for fine-tuning vocal levels. Very, very awesome, right? So remember, touch is whenever you're touching the parameter, it will record automation. As soon as you let go, it will read whatever the automation is. Very important. It'll read whatever the automation is. Now, there's another mode called latch mode, which is only start recording when I touch the parameter, but when I let go, continue recording and leave the automation recording till I touch it again. So check this out. I'm going to do it one more time. But this is latch mode, all right? Pay very, very close attention to the difference. So now, touch to start recording. 1, 2, 3, 4, but let 5, go. 6, 7, 8. And you see how it's still recording the session, but it's not moving the parameter, right? Because 1, 2, I left it there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let go. It keeps recording until I touch it again. Right? So that's the difference between touch mode and latch mode. Very, very, very useful tools, right? And again, if you get like a fader, or even if you can get a fader with like knobs and shit, oh man, you're set. So all right. Now, the other mode is called write mode. All right. Now, this one you have to be very, very careful. Is that the controller for Pro Tools? No, that's the Yukon. This is the PreSonus fader port. It's one fader, and it does whatever I need to. Again, it's not. It's supposed to be for Studio One, but it can integrate with Pro Tools through Huey. It gets the job done, in my opinion. For what I need to do, it's great. Now, obviously, at some point, I want to expand, but this is really good, especially for getting like that 99% out of a mix. Man, it's just automation is the way to go. All right, so the PreSonus fader port. So the write mode is very similar to touch and latch. However, it allows you to change multiple parameters at the same time. Automate multiple parameters at the same time. And you can tell which ones are going to be recording by going up to your window and opening up automation. This opens up a little window over here. Yeah, Pro Tools has this thing called the Yukon, or there's one called the Artist Mix. That's a good one. I hear. Sounds like Jamie Foxx. I hear. All right, so you open up this little window, and you guys won't have a lot of this extra stuff. This is more Pro Tools Ultimate stuff, but you will have this section right here, which is what do you want to write when you are in write mode. So for example, we have volume, we have mute. Oh, so let's just say volume and pan. Suppose I want to say I want to automate volume and pan at the same time, right? Now when I hit play, you see how you see how both automation lanes were recording at the same time? Pretty cool, right? So this, I haven't touched anything. Regardless of whether I'm touching the parameter or not, it will record, right? Go back to write mode. See how it's recording? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I can change both pan and volume at the same time. So go back to write. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So now you can see that both of them have been written. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pretty cool, right? So write is the most... you have to be very careful with write mode, because suppose you're in write mode and you're like, oh man, I just want to change the volume now. Well, it's still going to record both. So check this out. What's going to happen if I change volume but not change pan? 1, 2, see, 3, it's going to overwrite 5, whatever I already did. So you got to be very careful. That's why most people do not use write mode, again, unless you know exactly what's going on. What you want to do is you want to be in touch mode or latch mode. Those are your best bets. Touch is one of my favorites for mixing songs and just music-based shit. Latch is brilliant for movies that are movies or longer interviews that are much longer in length, where you have to stay static for long periods of time. It'll make more sense in Mod 4. But there you go, right? So those are ways that you can automate mixer parameters, all right? Those are parameters like volume, pan, mute, all right? But we want to do more than that. We want to be able to automate EQs and all that stuff. So let's take... Hate to do this, but actually, no, I don't hate to do this. Let's no, let's stay in this. Let's stay in this view. I'll go to more bigger sessions later. I'm just going to stay with the basics. So 1, 2. So suppose we put a plugin on this track, right? Let's put a basic EQ 7-band, and you're like, you know what? I want the first 4 counts to be like a telephone effect, and then I want the rest to be normal, right? I want the first 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to be telephone, 5, 6, 7, 8 to be normal, right? So here's what you can do. You can automate just about anything in a plugin. Any parameter that you see, any knob that can be moved, can pretty much be automated in any plugin. Almost, right? So what do I want to automate? Well, if I had an EQ with a telephone effect like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could either automate the bypass button, right? Bypass just mutes the plugin. So I could do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or I could move both of these knobs, which are the frequency knobs for your high pass and low pass. So let's do the bypass one because that's pretty easy. Remember, mute and bypass can either be on or off. They only have two positions. So when you automate, you can either automate them on or back off. In order to enable any parameter for automation, you have to press Control, Option, Command, right? It's like a claw. Control, Option, Command. Click on the parameter and say Enable Automation for, in this case, it's the master bypass. As soon as you do that, you will see that it either goes red or green depending on which mode you're in. So for example, because we're in record mode, it's going to be green, but it's also because we can't really touch or latch onto bypass. But anyway, you'll see it highlighted one way or another. The other cool thing is when you go back to that list of automation features on your tracks, if you go all the way here, click on the down arrow. Now, if you click on a pull down, you'll actually see there's one more parameter that's been added to your list, right? Before it wasn't there. Before it was just the mixer parameters, volume, volume trim, which is essentially the same, mute and pan. But once you enable it, you get one more. Vocal Rec Comp, which is the name of the track. FXB, which is because you're on the insert letter B. EQ37 band, which is the name of your plugin. And which parameter do you want to automate? The master bypass. So if I click on this, we see the automation lane for the bypass. So by default, it's on. But what I want to do is the last four numbers, I'm going to highlight. Then I'm going to come down here, hover over the top until I get this little bracket and turn it to bypass. So check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Pretty easy. Now that might sound a little too abrupt. Maybe I'm like, you know what? I want it to be way smoother. So instead of doing a bypass, I'm going to automate these two mixer knobs. Same rule. Control, Option, Command. Click on the parameter. Enable. Click on parameter. Enable. And now, let's see, go into here. And now on top of master bypass, you have the high pass frequency and the low pass frequency. So let's say I want to see the high pass frequency on one. Click the plus sign. And I want to see the low pass frequency on the other. So now what you can do is 1, 2, right? You can smoothen it out the way you want to. Now, obviously, I don't have a knob to do that, so I'm going to have to do it manually, but I'll just do it the way that I showed you guys. So click, click, boom. Command click, 2. And this should be this. Oh, no, this should be this way. 2, 3. Nope, this should be this way. Right. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? And obviously, you can change how smoothly you want it by adding more automation points, although I recommend getting some type of controller to make it way smoother. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? It's way smoother now. What movie is that from? Ooh, it's The Claw. The Claw. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. If you have a MIDI controller with knobs on it, you can assign it to this if you want to. But for now, just understand that this is how you do it, right? And again, you can do multiple parameters at the same time. You can say, I want to do volume as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. All right, so there you go. That is how you automate inserts or plugin parameters. So there's mixer parameters like volume, pan, and mute. Plugin parameters like frequency, gain. You can basically automate anything. So let's take another example. Let's go back to this dream state thing. Sure, save. Let's see, we got some vocals here.
Fading from reality, the sky tonight.
All right, so let's say we want to add a reverb tail on this. Actually, dream state, there it is. Minions, the claw? Really? I thought it was. Oh, is it from Friends? The claw, Unagi? No, I can't remember. So suppose you wanted to add reverb tails on just those words, right? You could say, hey man, I just want to put delay on the vocals, period, right? So you have this delay send. But the problem is, if you put delay on the entire vocal track, it starts to get really, really muddy, right? So check out, say, this line. And if you put too much delay,
Voices in my head are slowly fading softly.
right? It gets too muddy. And even if you dial it back a little bit, it's still muddy. And we want to We want to create clean mixes. So what do? We use automation. But this is not a let's just recalibrate my view. This is not a mixer parameter, and it's not a plugin parameter, but rather it's a send. All right? Which essentially is a mixer parameter, to be completely honest. So here we go. We got this lead vocal track. You got a reverb send and a delay send. So if I want more delay, I got to turn up this send. But I only want it to turn up on specific words. So here's what I do. Go to my track, go to the bottom left of the track and open up the automation lane. Click on volume and say I want to change it to lead vox 1, which is the name of the track, send C, which is the send letter, right? Which is this send, bus 2728, right? I want to change the level of the send. So this is the automation lane for this guy right here, this fader, right? You see if I move that, it changes. So what do? I go to wherever this is.
The sky tonight.
And then I highlight where I want the delay to occur. Click, drag it up. And a really cool thing you can do with automation, you don't want these very, very abrupt right angles. So you can actually highlight before and after the right angles and press X to do a fade. It's very, very useful.
The sky tonight. The sky tonight follows me in my dream.
the second one could probably be louder, right? You get the idea. You got to go in and fine tune. Obviously, if you have a thing, it's way easier.
The sky tonight follows me in my dreams.
Let's do dream as well. Let's turn that.
Follows me in my dreams. Voices in my head, in my dreams. Voices in my head. I'm slowly fading, softly whispering.
Right? And again, this is where another use of automation comes in. Even though we've compressed the vocals, there are still moments where the vocals are not that audible. That's a big problem. Vocals are so important and they need to be intelligible. So you open up your automation lane, you make sure you're on volume, you make sure you're on touch, and let's see, just gonna assign my fader. All right, so fade this.
Voices in my head, I'm slowly fading, softly whispering.
Get the idea? It's way more audible now, clean, evened out. I didn't do that much because there's already compression going on. But look, I'm going to turn automation off. If I click on touch, I can turn the automation off. And yeah, you know what? Let's just, there's another, so press X. No, just X. Mute the music. Yes, sir. So check it out.
Tonight follows me in my dreams.
So this is without
Voices in my head,
no automation here.
slowly fading, softly whispering.
And then with automation,
In my head, I'm slowly fading, softly whispering.
see that? I mean, it makes more sense to listen with music, right? Because, again, people don't listen to just kick drums and vocals. They listen to the context of the music. Because you don't want your if you listen to just your vocals and try to even them out, one, you may be fooling yourself to thinking you're evening it out. But two, the music behind it is not static. The music behind it is moving up and down too. So you need to adapt with the music. So for example, let me get rid of this and just listen without any automation to the level of this vocal.
In my dreams, voices in my head, I'm slowly fading, softly whispering.
See, especially at the end, we lose that definition, right? So in order to do that, we need to use automation.
In my dreams, voices in my head, voices in my head, I'm slowly fading, softly whispering.
Get the idea, right?
Voices in my head, voices in my head, voices in my head, I'm slowly fading, softly whispering.
So you got to go in and do all this stuff. But then here's where it gets even crazier, is that you can do this on subgroups as well. So for example,
What's keeping me awake? Inside, it hides, it blurs reality. Voices in my head, I'm slowly fading, softly whispering.
so for example, right? We got a couple of we've got a bunch of instruments. We got a bunch of instruments and vocals, right? What you could do, just to like show you really quickly as to what an idea could be, is suppose you wanted to increase. Suppose like the strings and all are too loud, right? You can actually go to the actual subgroups, group them, under like a regular group with Command G, set them all to touch, or let's do latch. And then, I don't know why this thing always has to do that shit. But then now, if you automate one, it'll automate all three of them. So check this out. You can develop dips and curves in your song.
Into my dream, my lost reality.
Kind of build that tension. And then when the vocals come back, you dial it back down. 2, 3, 4.
Into my dream, my long
So I didn't get that last one.
into my dream, my long lost fantasy.
You just gotta feel it, baby. Fuck yeah. You get the idea, right? This is a good example. Build, build, drop.
Into my dream, my lost reality.
Bring back up. So you get the idea. This is how you do a fucking mix. This is the secret to mixing. Everything that I taught you guys has been leading up to this point. So when I talk about automation being probably one of the most important things you'll ever need to know, this is what I'm talking about, right? So look, I'm just opening up a random session that I did. This is one I already showed you guys. But look, just check out like automation everywhere, right? Automation on vocals, automation on delays, automation on reverb tails, automation on, what is this? Reverb tail for strings, levels, right? Let's see what another example could be. Private mix session. So here. So this is an example where automation has been done on the subgroups to give flow to a song. So let's see, for example, cajon, guitars, and vocals. It's the same song from before.
And you call me baby, back and forth.
Check it out. Instruments and the reverb tail. Let's see, what's another good example? Or right at the top, maybe. Cajon starts strong. Guitar comes in strong and loud. It's not that they're trash. They're just not pro level. But you're gonna get there now. Instruments come down.
In the trenches, gotta get my
This is how you give flow not only to an entire song, but in between different instruments. This is exactly what I talked about in the beginning, where you can weave characters in and out of the spotlight, like tell a proper story, right? And again, these are small sessions, but I've shown you guys that other big session that I've done, right? Or an example of a big session. Think about automating all that stuff too, right? It's about not only making the song move as a whole, but having individual instruments pump and flow up and down, and then also weave in between, in and out of them. It's like such an amazing, powerful tool, right? Right. So even this song, with as many tracks as it has, it's all automation. Like almost everything has automation, right? Now, I'm not saying that you need to automate things to death, but just use it as a tool for when you need to, so that you know when you can pop certain things or dip certain things, right? Very, very, very useful. Woo! So yeah, very, very powerful tool, and highly recommend you make use of that stuff. So that is automation for you. This is what really gives your songs that kind of movement, right? And again, you can do this for various things. So for example, let's say modulation, can do like a enigma effect. Let's choose our setting first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? You can change like your mix value. So Control, Option, Command, click, enable automation, find it in the list. So let's say go to volume, enigma, mix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Man, you can get some really wacky ideas. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Right? Really wild. Yeah, and then obviously reverb tails are the most common one, but for reverb tails, you need to create sends. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So suppose we have a reverb, right? Let's just go to our sends over here. And I told you guys the short way to create a reverb, right? So click on a send, click on new track, call it vocal verb, and it automatically sets up the bus for you. Very, very quick way to do it. Command click the solo button, put your reverb on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now, if you want to do a reverb tail at the very end, open up the automation lane, go to your send, right, which is your vocal verb send. Whoa, what the fuck? Yes, there it is. Vocal verb level. And then just boost it at the very end. 7, 8. Boop. 7, 8. That's a very bad example, but you get the idea. 7, 8. And it's increasing this fader right here. 7, 8. 7, 8. 8. 6, 7, 8. Very easy reverb tail, right? Reverb tails are great for even promo stuff as well, right? Oh shit, I didn't see all your oh, right, that's why it takes 3 hours to properly mix a song. Yeah, dude, it takes time. You gotta really feel it. I feel like I'm the only one talking. Hey, that's okay. Hopefully you're not the only one learning. That'd be hilarious. All right. Let's take it back to Zoom for now, because that's a lot of automation shit.